So if you're trying to lead a team that's using AI, you've probably run into this frustrating truth. Your old playbook? It's completely broken. Well, what if the real bottleneck isn't the technology, but our management methods? Today, we are breaking down a really radical new idea, a complete operating system built from the ground up for teams of humans and their AI counterparts. It's called the Honey Badger Management Framework. So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll dig into exactly why our old methods are failing so badly with AI. Then we'll unpack the Honey Badger solution and break down its 4 core pillars. We'll see how it works in the real world, take a hard look at the evidence and the risks, and then we'll wrap it all up with the one big thing you need to take away from this. All right, so let's set the stage here. Most companies right now are trying to just slot powerful AI into old frameworks like Scrum. But here's the problem. Those systems were designed for predictable, human-only teams. They never, ever planned for a teammate that could write perfect code 1 minute and then confidently tell you the sky is bright green the next. I mean, think about it. In regular Agile, you know who's accountable. But who gets the blame when an AI hallucinates a critical piece of data that ends up in your final product? And trust? How do you build psychological safety when one of your team members is basically a black box? And what happens to your perfectly planned 2-week sprint when a new AI model drops overnight and just changes everything? These aren't small problems, they're huge, fundamental questions that the old playbooks just can't answer. And that's exactly where the Honey Badger Management Framework comes in. Now, this isn't just some patch or a quick update to an old system. The creators call it a purpose-built operating system for hybrid human-AI teams, designed for the messy, unpredictable world we're all trying to navigate now. Okay, but why honey badger? Well, it's actually a pretty cool reason. The animal itself is a symbol of insane resilience and adaptability. It's famous for thriving against just overwhelming odds and all kinds of different threats. The whole idea of the framework is to give teams that same kind of tenacious, survival-focused edge in a world where AI is changing the rules of the game literally every single day. So how does this thing actually work? It all comes down to 4 core pillars. And I gotta be honest with you, a couple of these are gonna sound, well, pretty out there at first. Let's just dive right in and break them down one by one. First up, sprints. Now, you're probably used to 2, maybe even 4-week cycles. Well, Honey Badger completely scraps that for these intense 7-day sprints. But here's the real game changer. They are cancelable. This is actually a risk management tool that's borrowed from the world of finance. The idea is simple. You pay a small price, 1 week of work, for the option to keep going. You're not locked in. So if a sprint is going completely off the rails, you don't keep throwing good effort after a bad idea. You just cancel it, you learn, and you reset. It's all about minimizing those sunk costs. All right, now for the most radical pillar of them all. You take a single team and you split it into 2 sub-teams, and then you have them work on the exact same problem at the same time in a structured competition. I know, it sounds kind of crazy, right? Maybe even super inefficient. But the goal here isn't to create a toxic, cutthroat environment. It's actually an engineering solution that's designed to pressure test ideas, spark real innovation, and, as we're about to see, it's a powerful built-in safety mechanism. So if you've got internal competition, how do you keep it from turning into the Hunger Games? Well, that is the critical job of the guru. This is a neutral team member who's basically the referee. Their main job isn't to manage the project, but to manage the framework itself. They are, and this is a direct quote, the supreme authority in Honey Badger matters. Their whole job is to make sure the competition stays healthy, to protect the team's psychological safety, and they have the power to step in if things go wrong. And the final pillar really brings this all together. It's a huge philosophical shift. In this framework, AI isn't just a fancy tool you use. It's not a glorified search engine. It's treated as an accountable member of the team. And that means its contributions are formally part of the workflow, but, and this is so important, its weaknesses, like its tendency to just make stuff up, are understood, respected, and planned for from the very beginning. Okay, so we've got these 4 pillars, but how do they actually all work together? Let's take a look at a super critical example, fighting one of the biggest and frankly most dangerous risks of using AI right now, hallucinations. This is where that whole crazy competition idea really shows its genius. See, a standard team has a single point of failure. If the AI makes a subtle mistake and nobody catches it, well, you could have a disaster on your hands. But the Honey Badger framework, with its two competing teams, creates what engineers call dual modular redundancy. Now, that's a fancy term for a really simple, powerful idea. Have two independent systems check the same work. It's the same reason airplanes have backup systems. By having two different groups of people looking at the AI's output, the chances that a weird hallucination slips past both of them drops dramatically. It's an engineered safety net for an AI-powered world. So at this point, you might be thinking, okay, this sounds fascinating in theory, but is there any real proof that it actually works? And you know what? That is a completely fair question, especially when you're combining so many unconventional ideas. What's great is that the creators are very direct about this. They actually warn against something called the Lego fallacy. That's the dangerous idea that you can just snap together a bunch of ideas that are individually proven and just assume the whole system is going to work perfectly. So instead of claiming it's fully proven, they use a strategy called proxy validation, basically showing that each individual pillar is grounded in solid, established theories from other fields. And you can see how each piece has a real pedigree. The short sprints, that comes from software engineering. The redundancy part is pulled straight from safety-critical fields like avionics. AI augmentation is backed by a ton of research, and the competition idea is backed by behavioral economics. But, and this is a huge but, that evidence is highly contingent. It only works if it's managed exceptionally well. And that right there brings us to the single biggest risk of this whole system. The entire thing hangs on good governance. If that guru role is weak, or if leadership doesn't really care about psychological safety, that internal competition can turn toxic really, really fast. It can completely erode trust and destroy a team from the inside out. This is not a framework you can implement half-heartedly. So after all that, what's the crucial point to take home? What does this radical blueprint really mean for the future of managing high-stakes work? Let's just do a quick recap. The Honey Badger framework is a high-discipline system for a high-uncertainty world. It's got those intense, cancelable sprints. It's got two competing subteams. It's got a neutral guru keeping everything fair. It treats AI as an accountable teammate, and the whole structure acts as an engineered system to catch errors and drive innovation. And this brings us to the final, provocative thought. This framework, it's not a casual experiment. It requires immense discipline, psychological maturity, and an unwavering commitment from the very top. So the real question isn't just whether the framework works, it's whether our organizations are ready for it. Is your team, are you, brave enough to manage like a honey badger?